Previously on Power. Nah, previously on SquadGoals.
So for me, I was raped at the age of 9. I'm very open and honest. Raped and molested by a family member. And that created a bunch of different things in me. First of all, I started having sexual thoughts that I didn't quite understand. My body started being opened up to things. I started feeling things that I didn't quite understand. It made me confused with my sexuality. As I got older, those thoughts started to turn into almost like fulfilling a need. It messed with my relationships. So even now, let me just break it down. Like even now, I still have urges to fulfill sexual needs that are tied to my childhood. I still sometimes feel like that little girl being introduced to sexual wants before understanding what sexual was.
I was doing some research on hypersexuality, and I'm just going to read a couple of the definitions to give kind of some clarity here. Hypersexuality and compulsive sexual behavior is a disorder or sexual addiction in a way. It's an excessive preoccupation with sexual fantasies, urges, or behaviors that is difficult to control and causes you to distress or negatively affects your health, job, relationships, or other parts of your life. Sexual addiction can be considered a process addiction, opposed to substance addictions. Whereas similar to gambling or binge eating or compulsive spending, the sex addicts typically spend a much greater time engaged in the pursuit rather than the activity. So it's like a high in the thought of it rather than the actual doing. So
thrill of the hunt.
Exactly. And the thrill of imagining the thing. So that was a complete shock to me because I never looked at it in that light. So it definitely has to be warped by personal experience. And just reading that, it can cause you, Lovely said, like a personal stress that can manifest physically, in your emotions at work and things like that, and essentially affect how you live. So, Lovely, I guess my question is, at what point did you identify that, this has to stop? This I need to address and get resolved?
Last year, I finally became unashamed of it because people would tell me when I would try to discuss it, because I'm a very open person. So when I'm going through something, for it not to affect my anxiety and my mental space, because I would have mental breakdowns because I knew these thoughts were wrong. It happened to me, and these thoughts, let me tell you, these thoughts didn't start coming into my head until my adult years. So I was able to suppress those thoughts, suppress that whole part of me and move on with my life. But when I had somewhat of a mental breakdown, those thoughts started coming forefront. Any type of stress, everything just started coming forefront. And I started discussing it with people that were close to me. I started with my mom. I said, Mom, I'm having thoughts about my kids. And it's really giving me anxiety. And she was like, what? And I changed the subject just that quickly because I knew it wasn't going to be accepted there. And then I went to my husband and tried to having the thoughts with him. He's like, I can't hear that. But I wasn't saying that I would do the things. I'm saying, hey, can you help me combat these thoughts? I know I wouldn't do that, but it was almost to the fact where I wanted to kill myself to stop those thoughts because I knew those thoughts were wrong. And everybody else that I went to made me feel even worse about those thoughts. Like, everybody has some thoughts. You should just push forward, get over it. And then when I started, that's when I said, hey, I need to find someone, I need to go talk to a counselor that could understand me, that actually has the training, that actually has the mental stability to understand what I'm saying, and there's no judgment. And that's where I decided to get the help, because it was either, for me, it was life or death. I could not deal with having those thoughts about my kids or having those thoughts about other people's kids. There was one point in time it got so bad to where I didn't even want, because I was a teacher, I didn't want kids hugging me because I had those thoughts, and having a thought to me felt like I was thinking about it. It was just hyper. It was out there, and it was all triggered by me encountering that person that raped me, or me reliving my trauma again. It just made me feel like I'm stuck as a high schooler, or I'm stuck as a middle schooler. That's where my body was, stuck as a middle schooler, and I'm being attracted to my students, you know? So, I mean, I couldn't personally live like that anymore. And I had to go get the help because people don't see that as normal. People see that as crazy. Even if you having the thoughts, you gone, you done. You need to either end your life or you need to admit yourself somewhere. That's just the view people have on it. But they don't realize this is something that people struggle with, and they're not crazy and they're not weird, and they can't help that these things have happened to them. They're just living in a world that they had no control over. So I decided to get the help last year. I decided to be very open with my counselor, because I realized that I can't be open with people that supposed to love me.
I think it's interesting that this happened in family, and we're supposed to, I'm not going to say we can, but we're supposed to be able to go to family with anything. But when it comes to topics like this is where the room gets silent. This is where stuff get repressed. And so I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a victim of molestation, and Watt has been my best friend of 15 years now. I didn't come and talk about it until I think it was like my 27th birthday. We was sitting down drinking, and I just let it out. I just went ahead and told him. Like it was one of them things that was uncomfortable, but at the same time, I didn't want to be burdened by it anymore. And so if there's anybody I could really tell anything to, is that man. So I did. And slowly but surely, I started talking more and more and more about it. So I agree with you. It did create an urge for me in a different manner. This occurred when I was around the age of 6, and I was at a babysitter's house. I spent the night because my folks, went out, and an older gentleman, was around, and it messed me up. And the crazy thing is, the thing that triggered it for me wasn't even like a sexual act. I smelled a scent. It was a cologne that I smelled, and it just hit me. And my girl at the time, we weren't on the best of terms, and I just couldn't talk about that with her. So I wholeheartedly understand what you're talking about your soon-to-be ex-husband. I do apologize. Unfortunately, due to the conditioning of families, some people aren't prepared for the reality of this situation and how common it is. So I hate it, but at the same time, I mean this with the utmost respect. I'm kind of glad it happened so that you can grow from it. So now, if you do pursue, a marriage or a relationship outside of this, you'll need somebody that's strong enough to be able to handle this. I'd much rather know if my significant other can really handle all of me, like that complete and utter honesty, the naked me. So I think it's a blessing in disguise. It may be painful. And again, if I'm stepping on any toes or anything, I humbly apologize.
You're actually not. You're actually not. I actually agree with you, because I used to think something was wrong with me. Because my trauma created a whole bunch of stuff: anxiety, depression, not being able to, like you said, hypersexuality is just mostly thoughts. But for a person, we actually, me personally, I'm gonna speak for myself, hate sex. It's only because I feel like that's the only way I'm needed. But I mean, it's almost like, I mean, like, my husband never used to get, like, in the beginning, I used to cry because it took me back through my trauma all over again. And when he became that person that no longer loved me and no longer, I feel like, accepted me for my whole self with anxiety and depression, I started crying again at the end of our marriage, because it just felt like another person that was taking my essence, ripping a part of me without me being wholly into it, you know? So I definitely agree. Yes, it is very painful right now, but I do agree with, someone will be able to accept all of me, because I can't run from this person. I can only talk about it. I have good days and I have bad days. This is an ongoing process. Yes, you get counseling, you go to counseling to get coping mechanisms, but you never forget that trauma. I can't tell you how many days I've went in the shower bathing myself. I mean, scrubbing, because I was, a part of me was taken at such a young age. And I have moments where I still feel dirty, where, like you said, a smell can throw it off. It could be the cologne that person had on when they molested or raped you. It can be a time of day. It can be the air, the wind blowing beside, like, when you were raped. All that is triggers for me, and a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people don't get it.